Hello friends, welcome to yet another session on essay perspectives. The topic for today is a society that has more justice is a society that needs less charity. Friends, as always, I have a personal request. Third edition of my book Ethics, Integrity and Aptitude has unfortunately been pirated. Pirated copies are of very low paper and print quality. I urge all the aspirants to buy original. Original copies can be bought from the seller Arvind India on Flipkart and from the seller Affordable on Amazon. Friends, as for every other essay, this essay also should be conceptualized as being made of various components and subcomponents. First we would introduce the essay, then we would dwell upon the essence of the topic, then we would discuss on the need for charity, then we would examine whether justice addresses all these needs for charity, and then we would argue, we would try to explore whether justice helps or wouldn't help at all, and then we would conclude. Friends, I think the best way to start this essay is by referring to the services rendered by two greatest distinguished individuals. One is Alfred Nobel and the second one is Mother Teresa. While Alfred Nobel donated about 95% of his wealth to institute Nobel Prizes to be awarded to the distinguished personalities who have rendered yeoman service for bettering the lives of mankind, so Mother Teresa instituted or set up Missionaries of Charity, an organization that would offer free care for people deserted by others, orphans, lepers, farmer prostitutes, street children, etc. etc. Now let us take both the works of both these great individuals. See, Alfred Nobel and Mother Teresa. See, Mother Teresa's role, actually the services rendered by Missionaries of Charity perhaps would not have been required if the Indian society were to be just. If a just society is basically the society where the wealth created in the society, where the material resources of the society are equitably, fairly, reasonably distributed to every individual. Since that wealth was not distributed, there were so many individuals who were in need of care, perhaps medical care or emotional care, etc. There were orphans, there were street children, there were lepers being deserted, there were farmer prostitutes who had no ways to earn living. Correct. So all these things was there because there was a lot of injustice in the society. So thus her charity came into picture and it was essential. Now juxtaposing this alongside the charity rendered by Alfred Nobel. So Alfred Nobel's charity work had nothing to do with the existence or lack of existence of justice in the society. It actually meant to make society a better place. Correct? It actually meant to encourage people to be good. It actually meant to encourage people to strive to make encourage people to strive to make the lives of mankind as a whole to another level. Correct. So it was more of motivation. So thus while the charity of the kind of Mother Teresa would be required in the societies where there is more injustice, it is opposite for the charity work done by Alfred Nobel. Or to rephrase it in order to make it suit the statement of the essay, perhaps a society that has more justice would need less of the charity of the kind of Missionaries of Charity. However, regardless of the justice present in the society would invariably need the kind of charity being rendered by Alfred Nobel. Hope I have made sense. So this essay seeks to explore whether charity is essential only in societies where there is more injustice, or is it essential in every society regardless of the magnitude of injustice present in the society. Friends, after introduction, it is time for us to analyze the essence of the topic. So there are three key terms. One is society, and then justice, and then charity. What is meant by society? Society implies group of people living together. The simplest way to define society. Then comes justice. Justice implies fairness, reasonableness. Fairness implies impartiality, equitability. A society or a just society is a society where every individual gets what he or she deserves. A just society is society where no individual can unreasonably corner the resources to which he or she is not entitled. An individual cannot take the resources which he or she does not deserve. So I hope I have made clear. Correct. So let us say a village. There is a well. In that village, in that well, of course, well water is meant for everybody, right? If only one community is allowed to draw water from the well and other community is not allowed to draw the water from the well, then that means the society is unjust. A society where everybody in the village, if they are allowed to use that well, then it is a just society. Correct. So thus I think I have made the meaning of justice clear. Then comes charity. Charity is a very interesting word. In our common parlance, we tend to associate the meaning of donation to charity, but it's the narrowest way of looking at the term charity. Charity has very wider connotation. Charity essentially means expending one's private possessions for public gain. A person, if he or she expends his or her private possession not for private gain but for public gain, then that is charity. Now it is important for us to elaborate on this phrase private possession. Private possession means, in the narrowest sense, we think private possession means wealth, money. At the most we can think some material resources. Correct? But this private possession can include the qualitative aspects also, like skill sets. If a person is freely giving, expending his skill set for the betterment of society, for public gain, then that is charity. If a person is offering a voluntary service, then it is called charity. So thus it is important for us to explain the meaning of charity clearly, so that the proper tone is set for the rest of the essay. Okay. So now, after understanding the meaning of the three terms, it is time for us to understand the meaning of the statement as a whole. The statement essentially means the society where every individual gets what he or she deserves is a society where no one need to spend his private possessions for the gain of society as a whole. Correct? To put it simply, if everybody gets what he or she deserves, then others need not have to spend their possessions for the betterment of everyone. Since everyone is getting what he or she deserves, then others need not have to spend for the betterment of everyone. So this is the statement, this is the meaning of the statement. Okay. Now let us try to explore if that is true. Friends, before we venture into arriving at a conclusion as to whether charity is needed in a just society or not, it is important for us to first understand the need for charity. Correct? So, the charity becomes important in cases where there is unequal distribution of wealth, skills, and care. First, let us take unequal distribution of wealth. See, a just society bads for an equitable distribution of wealth. Correct? But charity is needed if there is unequal distribution of wealth, though it is equitable distribution of wealth. How? Because let us say there is a crippled person. Let us say there is a blind person. So, because of his crippled nature, because of the lacunas that the Almighty was not kind enough to bless him with all the strengths, then in a just society, he may not get what he or she deserves. Correct? Then he is not ready to work hard. A just society is where a person who works hard would earn more, a person who doesn't work hard would not earn more. Correct? Since in that society there is equitable distribution of wealth, a hard worker, an intelligent person, a more risk taker would get more wealth, etc., etc., etc. But what is the case of the person like crippled person, blind person? So in that society there should be somebody to take care of him, right? So thus who would do that? Only charity can do that. Correct? So charity becomes important when there is unequal distribution of wealth. See, let us say there are some rich persons in the society who are able to educate their children in best of the best schools, but there are other people in the same society where they are not able to afford uniforms, textbooks, shoes, etc., etc. for their children. Then who should come and fill this gap? So only charity can fill that gap. Correct? So thus, so long as there is unequal distribution of wealth, there is need for charity. Then this is very important. Unequal distribution of skills. What do I mean by that? See, every individual would need some skills to live happily. Correct? So, if those skills are equally distributed, then perhaps everybody would be self-reliant, they need not have to depend on others. But if that skills are lacking, then the scope for charity emerges. Let us say the doctors, medical profession, that's a skilled profession, right? That's a knowledge, that's a skill. So, if everybody has the knowledge of medicine, if everybody can treat illness, then perhaps there is no need for charity. But since that's a specialized skills in the prized possession of a few individuals, then there becomes need for charity. A person who doesn't possess that knowledge, a person who doesn't possess that skill would definitely need that skill to live a comfortable and dignified life. Same is the case with teaching. So that's why a society where the society may be a just society, but the skills may be unequally distributed, unevenly distributed. So thus the scope for charity comes in as long as there is unequal distribution of skills. Same unequal distribution of care. Friends, care is the utmost important, emotional caring, right? So if you don't have that emotional caring, if everybody doesn't have that emotional caring, somebody has to come and give that care. If everyone has somebody to care for, everyone has an emotional comfort feeling, then there is no need for charity. So since that care also has become a praised possession, then there is need for charity. This is the whole reason why we have old age homes, where the senior citizens not being cared by their children would be cared by some other voluntary organizations. Correct? So it is not about money, it's about emotional care. Same is the case with Baba Amte, who dedicated his life for caring lepers. Correct? So here it is care. So if everybody gets that care, then perhaps there is no need for charity. So please try to understand that. So thus, so long as there is unequal distribution of wealth, skills and care, there is need for charity. Then inability of state, matlab government, to ensure availability of public goods that are exclusive possession of the public. See, if there are some public goods that are in the exclusive possession of public themselves, for example blood, for example organs, correct? So here, if the government is able to distribute blood to every person in the need, if the government is in a position to distribute organs to every person in the need, then perhaps there is no need for charity. But the government cannot manufacture blood. The government cannot manufacture or create organs, artificially do something. It's impossible, right? So then you definitely need somebody who is willing to do blood donation. You definitely need somebody who is willing to do organ donation. Correct? See, here I want to highlight a very interesting point. Of course, the state can force a person to donate blood, to do eye donation, to do organ donation. But if the government starts forcing a person to do it, then that is not a just society. It is not fair to person to donate organs just like that. It has to be. It should be a voluntary activity. Correct. So that's why in a just society, since state cannot force an individual to part with his prized possession, then charity becomes essential. Then the only voluntary individuals would come forward to donate blood, etc., etc. Correct. So this is also the need for charity. Then inability of the state to conceive and cater to all plausible needs. See, the needs of an individual are multifarious, that are inconceivable. So, because every individual is different, every individual's preferences are different, every individual's needs are also different. So, thus if the if the state is able to conceptualize, conceive and cater to all the needs, then perhaps there is no need for charity since state is giving everything. But it is impossible. Person A may need something, person B needs something else. In such a scenario, wherever there are such gaps, it is only the charity that can fill in, because government cannot conceptualize, cannot cater to all the needs. One, because of the huge magnitude. Correct? Second, inability to cater to everything. Then third thing is, society is basically a cluster of sub-communities. Correct? So every community has its own needs, but state as a whole can cater to the general needs of members of society, not to the specific needs of communities. So let us say there is a particular religious community which needs certain facilities for performing certain rites, rituals prescribed by the religious texts of the community. Correct? So, but state being secular cannot go and do it, cannot go and fill in all the needs of every community, right? So, state is mostly secular. A just state is secular. So, state can be secular or state can be theocratic. A theocratic state would only fill into the shoes of one community. A secular state cannot fill into the religious needs of any community. So then finally that leads to a scenario where there is need for charity to fill into those needs which the government fails to do, which the state fails to do. And this communities, sub-communities need not be restricted to religion. It can be gender, it can be professional organizations, etc., etc., etc. Correct? So thus it is important for us to, for the society to have charity. So wherever state exits, charity enters. So now after elaborating on the need for charity, now we will try to explore if justice would fill that need or not. Okay. So the first one is equality versus equity. So this is what I already explained it to you. See, a just society is an equitable society, not an equal society. If the just society were to be the example of a blind man or a crippled person or a poor person which I gave in the previous slide fits here, So a just society is an equitable society, but charity is needed in an equal society. So thus justice cannot address the needs addressed by charity everywhere. Justice can only address it to some extent, but not everything. Okay. Next, as I already told you, material goods versus qualitative goods. See, this is important. See, a just society can somehow attempt or try to give material resources to every individual, but there are some qualitative factors like services, like voluntary service for that matter. So such voluntary services are anyway essential, right? Whether it is a just society or unjust society. Let us say there is a just society where everyone is rich, everyone is has got what he or she deserves, everything is fine. But there is a road in that society, there is a park in that society, there is a temple in that society. So who should take care of that park? Who should take care of that temple? So the best example is Tirumala temple. All of you must have visited. So in the Tirumala temple, if you observe, there are so many volunteers. So if there are so many volunteers, they are actually, is it not charity? It is charity, right? They are giving free service. If the government, if TTD or the government were to make payment for them, then actually it would amount to a humongous amount of money that would actually cripple, that would actually disturb the just nature of the society itself. Correct? I am just giving you one example. So thus, any society for that matter that does not do away with the need for service. So that is the whole concept behind voluntary system. So I'll give you one more example. So there are so many environmentalists, right, whose objective is to sensitize people to respect the environment and to protect the trees, not to contaminate water, use water frugally. So there are so many people operating for so many causes. Some people like PETA, people for ethical treatment of animals. So their objective is they fight for animal rights. Let us take Greenpeace. They fight for environment. Correct? They fight for trees. Correct? So there should be somebody who goes and sensitizes people about these issues, right? So they do it voluntarily. So these issues persist in a just society also. The mere fact that there is justice does not obliterate the need for this kind of sensitization. Who has to do this sensitization? Only volunteers can do sensitization. Only charity can do this sensitization. Correct? So, next, justice cannot force any citizen. As I already told you in the previous slide, see the best example of blood, organ, etc. A just society cannot force a person to donate blood. A just society cannot force an individual to do organ donation. Correct? So, in such a scenario, only a person who comes voluntarily to donate blood would be required. So, thus charity can only do that. Then justice cannot be partisan and hence cannot address community specific needs. So, a just society is where everybody has to be treated secularly. Everybody, so thus some community, sub-community specific issues cannot be addressed. So thus these are the limitations of justice in addressing the needs for charity. So thus justice cannot attend to or address all the needs for charity, thereby necessitating the need for charity. So now after this we have now understood that justice cannot do away with the needs for charity. Correct? But does that mean justice not help reduce need for charity? The answer is justice does help reduce the need for charity. So how justice somehow distributes the wealth. Correct? A just society is where everybody gets what he or she deserves. Once that the wealth gets distributed slowly, finally it actually comes to a point where an individual has enough wealth to take care of his needs. So like compare a just society and unjust society. Unjust society has the characteristic of concentration of wealth in a very few individuals. So thus the huge number of members of society would be craving for so many basic needs. Correct. So there the need for charity is very high. But as justice comes to play, slowly the redistribution of wealth starts. So this redistribution of wealth, though slow, but certainly, surely it ensures that every individual, every deserving individual would start getting what he or she is entitled to. Slowly the concentration of wealth gets diluted. So this dilution of concentration of wealth means the number of persons needing basic things would actually come down. Thus the need for charity would also come down. Correct. See, let us say there is an intelligent, there is a hardworking individual. In an unjust society, he cannot study. Even though he studies, he cannot get into the employment on the basis of merit, or even if he wants to do business using his business acumen, maybe he is not allowed to do. There may be so many restrictions. But in a just society, if he is a hard worker, if he has business acumen, he is allowed to work hard, he is allowed to take up business, he is allowed to make money. So finally, initially when he starts off, maybe he needs support, a lot of support in the form of scholarship, he needs a lot of support in the form of coaching, etc. But finally, once he starts earning, then he doesn't need any support, he doesn't need scholarship, he can take care of himself. At least his next generation he will fund, he will educate his children. So thus to that extent the need for charity comes down. Correct. So thus friends, it is time for conclusion. After elaborate discussion, we can safely conclude that a society that has more justice needs definitely less charity than the society that has more injustice. However, that does not mean the justice and charity are always inversely proportional. Justice at the maximum can try to reduce the need for charity only in material resources, but not in terms of skills, not in terms of care, not in terms of other qualitative service aspects. Even in terms of material resources, justice can only reduce the need for charity, but cannot do away with the need for charity. Okay friends, happy reading. Meet you next week with another video.